Robert, a recent UNICEF report describes a pretty dire year ahead for children around the world, likely to see more violence, war, and economic hardship. And then we had another report that called the state of global education increasingly bleak. So what is being done when many of these children are just trying to make it through the day to survive?
Indeed, it's a very worrying situation. From an education point of view, though, there are glimmers of hope. We have some amazing examples of initiatives that are bridging children back into learning in these contexts, that are enabling children to realize their dreams. I've been in this position for about 5 years now. I have increasingly seen a commitment of the global community to enable children to learn and continue on this learning pathway despite these very real challenges.
Sustainable Development Goal number 4, quality education. Today, 250 million children are out of school. What remains the biggest challenges in trying to reach that goal by 2030?
So we are off track. The trends are not currently progressing at the level or rate that we need them to reach the goals that we all set collectively as a global community that need to be achieved by 2030. Now, from a positive point of view, if you're looking at the glass as half full, we have more children studying today than ever before in the world. So enrollment has increased around the world. We also have near gender parity between boys and girls in primary school level. So these are big successes. However, increasingly, we are recognizing that attending school, while absolutely critical, does not necessarily lead to learning. That means children are attending school, participating in the classroom, but are not achieving the learning levels that are required. So increasingly, we're now focusing on learning, enable every child to learn. And within that learning, we're particularly zeroing in on foundational learning, being able to read and write and do math, have a sense of safety and social emotional well-being. Just to give you one statistic, it's estimated 70% of children living in low and middle income countries at 10 years old are not acquiring foundational learning. 70%, 7 out of 10 children. So indeed, that's a real challenge. So let's leverage this amazing progress of children coming to school, but zero in on what happens at the school, enabling children to actually learn.
We hear a lot about the kids, but what about the teachers? Is there anything more that can be done to support the teachers who are helping these kids and the supplies that they need?
So if there's one determinant on a success of an education system and children being able to learn, it's the level of support to teachers. Absolutely critical. So we again have some great examples throughout the world in countries that have prioritized teachers and ministries of education that have. We have the opposite. We have many school systems that are demanding too much of teachers, underpaying teachers. So critical is for us to share those positive examples where countries have enabled sufficient levels of support to teachers, encouraging all other countries to do the same.
Do you feel like any progress has been made when it comes to the technology and the digital divide? Because for so many regions around the world, just getting access to the internet is still a challenge.
It is, indeed it is. So when schools were closed during COVID, at one point at the height of it, we had about 96% of the global student body out of school. One sort of silver lining to that incredibly challenging situation was innovation and rolling out new tools of learning, including digital learning tools. It was amazing to see the number of countries and the number of programs that were being rolled out very, very quickly to enable children to learn while their schools were closed. Now that schools have all reopened and kids have returned back, the key now is for us to harness that sense of innovation, those tools that were rolled out at that time, and continue to enable children to learn dynamically, including with digital learning.
Do you think we'll see some long-term impacts from the pandemic in learning? What are some of the lingering things that concern you?
So we have a growing divide. That equity issue, the difference between advantaged and marginalized children increased during COVID. Marginalized children were particularly disproportionately affected with school closures. Now we also still see continuing that trend of an increasing disparities across the education sector. So what that requires from the UN and UNICEF in particular is to focus in on marginalized children. bridging marginalized children back into school, enabling them to be provided holistic support so that they can be successful at school. The other key point that we learned during the school closures as a result of COVID was the importance of social-emotional well-being and holistic support that children receive at school. We need to provide comprehensive support at schools, a sense of safety, meeting their social-emotional needs, working very closely with communities and parents to be engaged in the school system. So much more sort of broader view of the school and of the education system to enable children to be successful.
Robert, you've spent many years of your career traveling and being stationed in different parts of the world, Asia, Africa. What are you the most proud of? Where do you see the most progress? And what would you like to shine a light on?
Well, I've greatly appreciated. I've been with UNICEF nearly 30 years, and this is my actually 9th posting with UNICEF. For me, what I've most found rewarding in those experiences has been engaging directly with children, with schools, with education systems to see the impact of our work. Sort of to see the incredible resilience of children and their desire to continue to learn despite challenges that they face, and doing all they can to learn and their parents in partnership with them. So it's just has been incredibly inspiring. Working for UNICEF and the UN system, you have this also incredible ability to be in a classroom in the morning, but then to engage with ministers of education or heads of state in the afternoon and see the policies that can be enacted that will change countries at scale. And that also I have been very sort of proud of and feel very appreciative of the opportunities of engaging with senior decision makers and see their commitment and see the bold actions they've taken to change the world for all children.
Robert Jenkins, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.